You know, I don't.
Like, you gotta go.
I've been called a nerd, accountant. I've been called it all, man.
They're just so baggy.
Oh man.
So, Mr. Knight, what I was saying is, I was just talking to Kovacic about it here. Whenever you're getting a subpoena request for grant, say we suspect somebody of doing for grant fraud. We saying, hey, I'm gonna say in a very layman's way, hey, give us access to take a look at this person's records because we see some suspicious activity and we want to verify whether the $5 million they received were used.
Let's do this, because I see where you're going to ask this question, but I think it's important to start at a foundational base, because this might actually answer the question in a different way. First, and this is good for you, Cole, too, so I hope you're paying attention.
Yeah,
you ready?
I'm paying attention.
Okay.
Yep.
So, we have reasonable suspicion, right? And reasonable suspicion is the bare bone amount to detain. But what is reasonable suspicion mean? And I'm going to actually reference this so that when y'all look back at it, you can, if you need to like rederive it in your minds or look at it from a different way, you have the tools to do so. So let's start by going into legislation and opening up legal terms. And I'm not going to spend too much time on RS, but I'm going to point at this because it's important. Okay. So let me know when you guys got it up.
It's called, the actual name is Criminal Code of San Andreas Legal Terminology.
Yep. That is the one.
Yeah, I have it open.
Okay, fantastic. So the first thing, even before you get to reasonable suspicion, it's important to understand what it means to be reasonable. Because reasonable, and even members of the judiciary don't understand this philosophy. And you might be like, well, Brian, what do you mean philosophy? Because Western...
What I tell you guys?
Western... legal system is based on philosophy from the Greeks, the Arabs, different parts of the world, all of which culminated, and the Romans, all of which culminated into what then entered into Europe, which then entered into, the United States, blah, blah, blah. I'm skipping over a lot of historical pieces, but what wasn't lost was the philosophy. How do you judge an individual? How do you make those? How do you properly accuse someone, and then how do you properly punish them? Right?
I told them right before you came that you're a philosophical goblin.
Oh, 100%. A lot of our what we do is based on philosophy. And understanding the philosophy helps you better understand the why, right? Now, so let's get to reasonable. If we did not look at this tablet and we looked around this circle, what is reasonable to each of us on any form of assertion? For example, is that snowman over there cold? Each one of us is going to have a different opinion. However, collectively, we will need to agree at what point is it reasonable to claim it is cold, right? So what is reasonable? It refers to the actions, beliefs, or conclusions that are fair, sensible, and justified based on the facts and circumstances available at the time. What is considered reasonable is assessed objectively. Does everyone here know what objectively means? And it's okay if you don't. These are...
I think we do.
Okay.
I think I know, but now I'm questioning because
Sure.
the way you asked.
I'll explain. There are two things. There is subjective and there is objective. Subjective, and I would reference like a dictionary to get the explicits, but subjective is, I think ice cream is nasty. and someone else subjectively says, I believe ice cream is amazing. That's subjective. It's an opinion-based position. However, objective is when something is based on fact, where it can be, where more than one individual based on, the same set of variables come to the same answer. What is objective? 1 + 1 = 2. That is objective. 1 is great. 1, excuse me. 5 is greater than 1. That is objective. But subjectively, ice cream is nasty or ice cream is good. Okay, so continuing with the definition, meaning it is judged according to what a reasonable person would do or believe in a similar situation, rather than based on the individual's subjective state of mind, right? Now the question draws, okay, I get it. Reasonable means that, is based on a reasonable person, right? But what is a reasonable person? A reasonable person in legal terms is a hypothetical individual used as a legal standard to determine how an average, prudent, and sensible member of the community would think or act under specific circumstances. This person is presumed to exercise ordinary care, judgment, and fairness. See, reasonable. And does not possess specialized training or knowledge beyond that of an average or otherwise unremarkable adult. In criminal and civil law, the reasonable person standard is used to assess whether beliefs, actions, or decisions were appropriate, given what was known or could be reasonably inferred at the time. It is an objective standard, not based on the actual thoughts or experiences of the defendant or officer, but on what a rational and law-abiding person would do or believe in the same situation. This standard exists to ensure consistency when applying legal judgment across similar situations. So what does this mean? The 5 of us, if we weren't law enforcement, we're an example of what a reasonable person would be. And if I said, hey, if I punch Cole, is that a bad thing? Would you all agree it's a bad thing?
Yeah, if you're not defending yourself.
Yeah.
Just based on that, if I punched him, is that bad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? This is an example of what a reasonable person would say if I punched him. What would not be accurate is if I punched him and you guys were like, hell yeah, bro. Like, what the fuck? That's not a reasonable person, right? Let's say, because we were, I don't know, we're like weird or something. We're, another example of a reasonable person is if, say, for example, in the middle of that field, somebody shot someone in the face. And all of a sudden, we put our tablets down and we looked down there and we saw an individual holding a gun with a dead body. Would we say that he probably shot that guy?
See, it was a reasonable thing to assume.
It's a reasonable thing to assume because we are reasonable people. And we are looking at that situation, knowing when the gunshot went off, that we as reasonable people are going to say, hey, he probably shot him. You know what would be unreasonable? If someone was like, well, actually, it could have been a sniper rifle, and maybe the guy just had his gun out, right? That's an unreasonable person. This is a very important thing to highlight, and actually a crucial bit that sometimes judges and law enforcement and criminals fall into. They say, hey, something unreasonable could have happened based on these facts. right? Which is sometimes why you hear me say, but wait, aliens, right? Because you're making a unreasonable alternative example of what could have happened. Could something like aliens happened? Well, like New Babylon? Sure. But there is no evidence for it. There is no reasonable person would say it could be aliens because there's no evidence pointing to it, right? So these are reasonable people, right? And someone that said maybe aliens would be unreasonable. Okay, next. Both of these concepts lead to reasonable belief. A reasonable belief exists when a person, based on facts, observations, and circumstances known to them at the time, holds an honest and rational conviction that something is true or necessary. It is judged from the perspective of a reasonable person in the same situation and considers what was known or should reasonably have been known. This standard applies in both civilian and law enforcement contexts and may justify actions taken when...
Where are you reading? Where are you reading?
A reasonable belief.
Okay.
Yep. This standard applies in both civilian and law enforcement contexts and may justify actions taken when one lacks complete and perfect information. A reasonable belief must be supported by objective evidence, and cannot be based solely on speculation or assumption. It serves as a standard for evaluating the legitimacy of certain decisions, such as use of force, searches, or in defending criminal conduct. Why is reasonable belief important? It's important because if in this same scenario where we're looking at our MDTs and we hear a gunshot, we look over into the field and there's a man with a gun and a dead body, we would say we have a reasonable belief that that guy's fucking dangerous and that we need to run out and subdue him because he may shoot again. Would we all agree that that would be something reasonable to do because we would have the reasonable belief that he may do something that he shot and that there's a reasonable belief that he may shoot again?
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Reasonable belief, as it says in this very definition too, is when we use of force, right? If we have based on what we're seeing, that anyone else who saw the same thing and like saw the gun, saw the individual, saw the that we might decide that we need to shoot him. So that and why this definition matters is because if that guy went to and brought you to court and he's like, where they shot me, the police shot me, we would go up on the stand and we would say we had a reasonable belief that he had just shot this individual and he could have shot someone else, and we told him to put the gun down. He didn't, so we blapped him, right? And furthermore, we may then add that, Tennessee versus Garner. All right? So now let's skip over reasonable doubt, but let's get to reasonable suspicion. This is the first thing that is typically taught to us in academy and otherwise in our training. But I believe that we actually want to do everything that I mentioned prior to this, because understanding what we just got done going through is what leads us to reasonable suspicion. Those were the building blocks. So reasonable suspicion is a legal standard that allows law enforcement to briefly stop, detain, or investigate an individual. It requires officers to have specific, articulable facts. Articulation is the act of describing in specificity something. So an articulable fact is being able to effectively narrate with evidence, facts, etc., a conclusion, right? I heard a gunshot. That's an articulable fact. I put my NDT down and looked at the grass and saw someone with a gun. That's articulating. On the ground was a body bleeding out. That's a articulable fact. Combined with logical inferences from those facts. Given I put my MDT down after hearing a gunshot and looked into the courtyard and saw a man with a gun and a dead body, I am logically deducing based on the aforementioned statement that that man may have shot. To continue the definition, that indicate a person may be involved in a criminal activity, the shooting of said man. It is a lower threshold than probable cause, but must be more than a hunch or a vague suspicion. If we just said, hey, there's a man in all black, or hey, there's a man running around, you know, that's not RS. That's just, you're just making random fucking shit. Reasonable suspicion must be based on observable conduct. What we just saw in the example. Known patterns of behavior. If there's a gunshot and there's someone and a body on the ground next to someone, right? Or situational context supported by the officer's training experience and the relevant surrounding circumstances. The suspected offense must be one defined in law. Detentions based on reasonable suspicion must be temporary and limited in scope. So one of the key things that I'm going to underline here is the suspected offense must be one defined in law. This is something a lot of people miss out on. Is that people think that just because, let me tell you something, and I'm not going to try to get too weird about this because some of this is, I'm just telling you history. All right. So we're going to touch on the subject, but we're not going to go too deep into it. Reasonable suspicion actually comes from Terry versus Ohio. Back in the day, you know, in the 60s, and hopefully that's all I need to say, you know, law enforcement used to go and, you know, just, you know, pull over particular people and, you know, do things that they probably shouldn't just because they felt like someone might be dangerous. In fact, this happened to a man named Terry, or that was like his last name or some shit. And from there came Terry v. Ohio that said, hey, you can't just profile me because of XYZ characteristic. Said the Supreme Court. No. Why the fuck is that? Why the fuck did you think Terry did something bad? Why the fuck you frisk his ass? You can't just be like, yo, this homie got a hoodie on. Like, that's not it. And that is where Terry v. Ohio, which required law enforcement to say, that demanded that law enforcement can't just look at somebody and say they're suspicious. And that because what they're wearing or who they are or what neighborhood they're from, you can't just say they're suspicious for that, just based on that one thing. And therefore, you can't from there just start frisking them or searching them. No, you need to articulate why that person and what facts lead you to believe that they're dangerous. From there is actually where reasonable suspicion derived from. And why the example I just gave you is something that you want to think about, right? That just because someone's wearing a fucking Hydra mask doesn't mean that they're suspicious. You can't detain them. What the fuck else did they do? So, and furthermore, at the point in time, you, in your own minds, go to detain somebody, right? You need to, in your mind, be already connecting the dot of what you believe that they did, what suspicion of what crime you believe that they did. Because you might believe they're up to some no good, but unless you know what it is they're doing, like what crime they're committing, you can't actually detain them. So, and this also comes down to your report writing. That when you go write down your report, especially on something very serious, is that you explain what was the RS for the original detainment based on what crime. That and this has happened in the past where people will just say, "Hey, dog, this guy was suspicious, so I detained him." No, technically, that's an unlawful detainment. You need, hey, this guy ran a red light. Hey, this guy pulled a gun. He was brandishing. Hey, you see where I'm going with this? Okay.
Yeah.
Everything
The charge for the offense it should already be
in your
connecting
brain.
in your head.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. Now, everything that I've discussed so far brings us at the 50% mark on this, on let's call it the sus scale. All right. I'm going to create in your mind, I want you to think about a thermometer, right? Someone has done something. RS is anything up to the 50% mark on that thermometer. Probable cause is the moment we get to 50.00001. We're over the 50% threshold. Probable cause exists when based on objective facts and circumstances known to the officer at the time, a reasonable person would believe that a crime has been committed, is being committed, or the evidence of a crime is located in a particular place. It is a higher standard than reasonable suspicion as required to justify arrests, search warrants, and certain warrantless searches and seizures. Probable cause must be based on factual observations, reliable information, and the officer's training and experience. It may not rest on hunches or generalized profiles. The officer must have a good faith belief, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, this gets to the next bit. There's a question that Coyote, you brought up to me on the phone, was, hey, and I don't want to go into the specifics of what someone may or may not have said, but I'm going to go with based on what was probably trying to be indicated. But in the event that, let's say there was a misunderstanding of this, I'll clarify now. When we hit PC, that thermometer is now beyond the 50% limit. We are over 50.01. That we believe already that we can arrest someone, that there is a crime that has taken place, and we have PC. However, and that now allows us, if the crime dictates it, if we believe the evidence is in financial records, that evidence is in phone records or in a house, the scale from 50 needs to be raised to, say, 55 in order to check the financial records. Maybe for the phone records, maybe 60%, for the financial, maybe 70% for the raid. But it's all still PC. Because when a judge is reviewing a subpoena, subpoenas inherently are limiting the person's rights in the moment, right? Because we're breaking their right to privacy. And so when a judge looks at it, they're saying there is probable cause for a crime, as articulated, and we believe that there's more evidence in that phone subpoena, and we're explaining the why we came to that conclusion.
Can I ask something to clarify?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. What if the retort is, okay, then why is this person not arrested? You have proof of crime.
That's a great question.
For arrest. What are we waiting for? Like, why would we even need the subpoena?
Because in Boston and New York, you would get arrested and you would go sit in prison and go through the legal system. And in 3 years, eventually, the DA is going to come with all that information while you sat in jail. And now you're going to go to trial. But we live in San Andreas.
Wait. So they will arrest you and then go in your records?
In real life, in Boston, New York, yeah. If someone thought in Boston and New York, if motherfucking, you ran away from a shooting, Motherfuckers are gonna have the cameras. They're gonna find a face, right? The moment they find you, they're throwing you in prison. Not the penitentiary, right? And while you're in prison or while they're hunting you down, the door's already kicked down. Your phone records are already taken. The hard drives in your PC are already being analyzed by a lab, right? All the while you might be on the run. All the while.
Two clarifying questions. I have two. The first one on that thermometer.
1 second.
Where is?
What is that? By the. Okay. Hiker.
What is RS on the thermometer scale? Would you say? We talking 30? We talking 40? Or we talking like 49?
RS is anything below is 50% is 50% or below on the thermometer. Everything is RS underneath 50%.
Okay. Next question. In the event of a grant fraud, okay, embezzling, someone's got a large sum of money. We have a suspicion that they're going to embezzle, or they like the money didn't go to where we expect it should have gone. The only way we can check that is if we look in and then we have proof. So it's like, you got 5 million. You said you were going to buy, I don't know, 100 tacos with it. So now we want to see if you made the purchase for 100 tacos. We don't actually have the proof, no, unless we like look in.
That's kind of why I was like, we have to be very selective and not broad. Because right now, right, we're looking at these grants. And trust me when I say that even high command of other departments, I'm not going to name any specific ones, have said, hey, dog, these guys, oh, man, all this stuff is bad because this person's asking for this much, and that must be illegal. No. Where's the RS? I mean, there's RS maybe. But we need a crime first. And then we can actually look in it. Let's use Bruce Baylor as an example.
Can we use someone else other than Bruce?
Well, I want to use Bruce first only because we've seen it go to trial, right?
Okay.
And that's one that's actually, there's an actual built, example of. Is that with Bruce, we didn't get the records because he took a bunch of grants. We didn't get a bunch of, because he rented a bunch of, got a bunch of auctions, right? That's what some people might think. That's what made our eyes light up, and we weren't looking even specifically to him. It's that when we looked at the grants, the things that he was asking for were indicators of a crime that were PC for a crime. That he was looking for money, if I remember correctly. He was looking, and it's worth looking at the subpoena, right? Actually, I would look at Springfield's original subpoena. Let me see.
I think they were all under bingo or B2 something.
Thank you. Yeah. Let's search for bingo and bingo index file. We'll click that one open. And then search warrants. And I think it's this one. Let me double check. Oh wait, I opened the wrong one. It's subpoena. Subpoenas. And my MDT crashed.
Three 5845, I think it is.
That was the personal. I think we started with the bank subpoena. So 8283 88 845. Okay. The first one that was ever written was this one, 35282. This right here was the start of the end. Can you guys hear me, by the way? Because my everything flashed.
Yeah,
What was
See,
that
see,
number?
see.
What was that
Okay.
number one more time?
35282. Now, the reason I'm bringing us back to this point is because up until we looked at these specific grants and where they were being applied, we didn't have PC, right? We could not have access to this stuff. But you will see in here, it was embezzlement. Now, the reason it says suspicion of what crime, that's still PC. Right? There was blah, 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 blah. Won a house of auction. So you see all the things that he did on. According to the county records, B2 is slated as a service provider whom provides investment and consulting services, which includes starting a business, investment strategy, business investments, and real estate. These consulting services, but per their own public announcement, he's also providing loan services through the ventures, as well as purchasing real estate property, not just consulting on real estate purchases. The amount of granted monies followed by the purchase of a property is $16,000, as well as the business exceeding its scope in the original business proposal. The San Andreas State Marshals believe that the bank transactions within his personal and B2 Venture business account will provide evidence of embezzlement of Los Santos, right? Now, so to directly answer your question there, could we have arrested Bruce? Yeah, 100%. But the moment we arrested him, we would have been fucked in jail or fucked in court because we would not have hit the thermometer at, let's say, 95% confidence, where we can prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Because in San Andreas, the moment you make the arrest, especially like this, it better be ready to fight in court.
Okay, let me ask you something. In the defense of, let's say, Bruce in this instance. So again, where is the PC here? Is the fact that he's listed in his business as being a consultant, investment strategies, business investments, and then he's posting that he's buying properties?
Correct. Because the
Couldn't
thing
he
that
just argue that that's a business investment, the property?
no.
Because it says investment strategies, business investments,
Sure.
real estate investments.
Sure, he could. But
It's a real estate investment.
he
you know,
could.
like-
We're not in court though, are we?
It still seems to me like this is like RS.
So the reason why I believe that may be the case is because the training that we receive in San Andreas is that we arrest people in San Andreas not based on 50, slightly over 50%. We arrest people on 70, 80, 90% confidence, right? Because in San Andreas, we make arrests when we're court ready. We don't make arrests when we're like we would in Boston and New York, right?
You know, I researched Boston and New York after a phone call, and it said that for a subpoena, it requires none of a bank subpoena especially requires none of the criminal standards, like reasonable suspicion or probable cause.
That is, I wouldn't let that confuse you. Yeah, only because you are not wrong about that. It's just when I say Boston and New York, I'm using it more as like a No.
I know. I'm just saying in the broader sense, like, a lot of the other legal spheres, it seems that subpoena doesn't require probable cause. It just requires being relevant.
The
to
reason
an investigation.
you are correct, because technically a subpoena is a court order. Right.
Oh, interesting.
So the reason I even use PC is because this is the worldview that a lot of judges and justices in the DOJ function off of. If I went into more technical details of this conversation, we can do that. But it might add layers of confusion because other entities may not understand it. You know what I mean?
One last thing. The fact that it's a court order given by a justice, how is that that's not different than, you don't really need PCRS for that. A justice could just make an order.
Yeah.
Interesting. What is the scope?
Technically speaking, you are correct. Functionally speaking, we use PC. Practically speaking, we use PC. Okay. But technically, yes, a subpoena. Technically, in San Andreas, based on the way things work here, most of the time, you need probable cause. Or as damn close to it as you can.
I'm just trying to get our ducks in order, in case someone tries to argue the case against us later.
Well, so once again, it's practicality, right? And that's why you want to hit that PC mark, or as close to it as you can, so that when you're having a conversation with those that may not know the depth of what these things actually mean, you're speaking a language and you're bringing to them the same level that they're used to. Because, to give you an example, if we were to interface with anyone else, even in law enforcement, and explain in depth what a subpoena is and that it's a court order, and technically, a magistrate could just get the records, that wouldn't bode well here because of the culture we're in.
There's another caveat that I think is worth noting too. Is say that financial records, this is general, like in a worldly view, they're considered third-party record.
Correct.
And so they don't necessarily.
Yes.
There's like an expectation of privacy isn't really there because it's not there. It's a third-party service.
And we don't even. Back in the day, during the Sanguine War, there actually was a telecoms company.
Really?
Yeah. And that telecoms company, we were issuing a request to the DOJ to issue a subpoena, because technically you and I, law enforcement, should not be making actual subpoenas. And I'll give you an example of a document of one that we used to write, is that at the top of it, it was per order of the Department of Justice to the phone company. Hey, dog, we think someone killed someone. We need their phone records. And AT&T is going to be like, hell no, bruh. Yo, take this shit, bruh. We don't want anything to do with that.
Can we get
but
people to
also,
sign a terms of
you don't want to use Boston, New
they...
York, because now we have the Patriot Act, and there's other factors that come into play. So I'm trying.
Is this the shit they slip into the terms of agreement every time you like?
It's a lot more than that. Yeah, I don't want to get too. The only reason I brought up Boston, New York, is mostly to underline that in Boston, New York, you get arrested before all the evidence, because you have months. Because prosecutors have months to get all the things they need, and that's why you get a bail, and that's why, court cases can take forever, and why some people that don't deserve to be in jail end up going in at the age of 16 over a dime of weed, and end up as gangbangers with tattoos and gang affiliations and other things, and getting spit back into the system after they find out that they didn't do anything. Right?
So technically right now, when we request, or when the court gives an order to request phone record or bank record, are we requesting it from the phone company, or are we requesting it from because I know a warrant, when we go to someone's car, it's his property. Is the phone record his property still?
Technically, the phone record is the property. I don't know how it is in,
because you brought up the Sanguine thing. I find that fascinating.
Well, because really during Sanguine, there was a telecom company that you could actually speak to, and there was
That's so cool.
Listen, don't go too deep in behind the wall. You know what I'm saying? Like the curtain. Like, all right, listen, I want to look behind the curtain too, but we just making up some of that shit half the time. All right, I'm gonna close the curtain now. So
of course, it's all just it's a beautiful world.
yeah, there's the same reason why like sometimes when law enforcement are like, hey guys, why do you want to like, you know, these fucking military helicopters? Like, why can't we buy one, dude? Like. What you mean? Like, what are they talking about behind the curtain? Like, bruh, stop opening the damn curtain, all right? Like,
okay,
like what you want me to say? Like, who?
This was a
you want me to tell you who I'm DMing? Is that what's going on? Like, what kind of answer you want? Like,
no, this was a nice, thorough. I really appreciate you going in depth.
yeah, 100%. So
I need we need the fundamentals memorized, like fucking like back of our hand.
Yeah, that's why I'd say like from a functional perspective, from a practical perspective. When we're putting a subpoena up, you want to look at it from the lens of you want to reach probable cause, or as close to as possible, right? But don't look at it as, can you arrest him? Yes. Are you going to lose the court case? Yes, because you have to immediately could get bench trialed. You could immediately have it appealed. And if it is, you have to immediately, in this city, post all your evidence, and when they look at it, they're going to be like, what the fuck, and throw it back at your face, and they're going to walk out not guilty. So in this state, we need to be building up everything. And this is a concept that a lot of people I used to fight tooth and nail because people wouldn't understand this back in the day during Sanguine and before. They'd be like, Brian, why are you just releasing them and not charging them with anything? Because it's like, no, because we're going for murder, and we don't have that yet. We know they did it, but we need to get the murder gun out of their house. And that takes a while to write up.
Can you request can a bench trial be requested for any charge?
Yes. We can technically deny it if we believe that there isn't enough time to have a bench trial, which is meant to be short. In other words, if you're entering in multiple pieces of evidence, you need to bring in witnesses, right, and experts. Then it would be denied, right?
So if however,
you need to have that already.
If you push in the charge. So if a lawyer is clever, like if I'm a lawyer, as soon as I realize they don't have all their ducks in order, I request bench trial.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's what they do around here. Motherfuckers will be like, but aliens, bruh, and then they drag people through. Yeah.
Okay. Fascinating.
So
now I kind of wish I did a law stint in San Andreas.
Well, it's well, that's why PD a lot of times gets caught with their pants down, right? Because they'll push. That's why one of the things that I always taught was anyone that was under me is that you never push charges that you can't prove right then and there. If you cannot stand go into a courtroom by yourself, and this is why I hate anyone that dumps a 95 on somebody without the evidence. Like, you show up late and they're just like, all right, Coyote, go and charge them. It's like, bro, I wasn't there. Who was first on scene? How did we have the RS? What was the PC? Right? Why did we stop them? Why was there a detainment? If I don't know those answers, I'm actually getting fucked in the ass by that other cop. Right? But no, when I press those charges, I can say, this is why we tried to detain him. And this is what we found. And this was our initial bit of probable cause for the one crime. And once you have the probable cause for the one crime and you can articulate it well, everything else comes, unfolds naturally from it.
All right. So what's the conclusion for this subpoena? I don't know if you answered it or not.
For this one here? So the reason
Coyote is trying to write it down.
So the reason
I'm working on a grant. I'm waiting for McAllister to come. I'm gonna rub heads with him. He put a template up, a good basis, and but I want to increase the scope.
I would like you actually to reach to Norman Bones, or not Norman Bones, Norman Adams. And this isn't to downplay McAllister, right? It's that I want you to ensure, because McAllister is still learning some of these things, right? And so if you're working together on it, that's good. But I want you to ensure that you speak to someone like Norman Adams, to Ruth, to Springfield. Yes. And I want to be clear here. You know, Luca is great. Rooker is great here. They can also assist. But these people that I've just named have like deep-seated in like very technical answers to some of this, right? And you're better off right now asking Luca and Rooker than McAllister at the moment when it comes to this, right?
Really? Okay.
Yeah, McAllister is still learning some of the ropes to this stuff, right? And I want to make sure he does. You're not, given misinformation, right? Unintentionally, especially with this being such a untraversed territory, right? Keep in mind, Springfield is the first to actually do this. And Norman Adams, like, quite frankly, was the guy that helped us go to Sanguine, who's reviewing most of that shit, right? Like, these are a long-time justice. But let's go back to your specific example, and I hope this has been helpful for everyone here, like kind of the build up to
Absolutely.
where this sort of like comes from.
It's been very helpful.
This is also, Coyote, why I'm advocating for, with both mayors, that they have their their what do you call it? Why we have a way to look into businesses without needing this, because I'm going to go even further, actually, is that this Bruce Baylor thing would not have even probably been possible had embezzlement not been pushed in as a charge, and we did not have the legislation backing the requirement for proof, right? And that the key to all this was Bruce asked for all this money, but for some of these businesses, his business proposal doesn't talk anything about it, right? So even in terms of like the investment and stuff, if you crack open like what he was saying these businesses for, it had nothing to do with real estate. And, it would be a stretch for, using your example, to say real estate is an investment, as it expanded on what investment meant in the scope of his business, right? So one angle you can push here is, if you have a target or two or whatever, what does their business app say, right? Like, what is their business proposal? And are they asking for money outside of the scope of their business?
How do I get that? I don't have that.
So that's the bit that we need to work closely with the mayors for. I know Blaine County has done it. There's a follow-up conversation that's going to be happening with Danger in regards to it. There is no easy way to get it, because today that program, let's call it, is like only in the hands of the mayor and the DOJ, and you have to do a lot of clicking, and it's not easily accessible, right? So that's the only reason why it's not widely available. Eve Summers has gone through and has been pulling some of that information, right? And Danger and company should be doing the same.
Aldo told me once they were done with it, we were gonna be able to have access to it, because both Blaine County and Los Santos have each other's records when it comes to the active businesses.
Oh yeah, you might be right. That might even be the conversation I was going to have today, until it's pulled into a 3-hour stir session. So soon, TM. But if there is a particular one you need, nothing stops you from just asking one of these guys. I'd say.
Okay, I just want the Black Swan. That's the one I'm looking at now. The
okay.
Black Swan.
I would ask Eve for it. Wait, where is Black Swan located?
Exactly. Where is it located? They got 3 different grants. Just in October, they got 11 million.
That should answer grants. It, right? Did they get it from Los Santos County or Blaine County?
I got it from Los Santos County.
Okay. Easy. All right.
But they don't have any properties in Los Santos, either of them.
Well, property isn't required, right?
No, but two people are listed. Two people are listed in the business for the grant proposal. They request $4 million to invest in a multi-story property. Okay, so they say we want $5 million, $4 million of which is going to be for a property. The property costs $8 million, and we have a deal in place. So we're going to put $4 million, and our partners are going to put the other $4 million. So okay, boom, here's $5 million. 2 weeks later, they submit almost identical requests. Hey, there's a property we're looking at. It costs $8 million, and we want 50% of it, which is $4 million, so we can go halves on a property.
Mm-hmm.
And so they got another a grant. So they essentially submitted the same grant twice request. And when you look at their, so you go, okay, well, if they got $12 million, then either Seamus or Ivy, two of the people listed, should own a multi-story property out of which their business operates. Well, we visited every property they have, and none of them really look like a multi-story property.
Yeah, I really want to see, and I hope this is the direction we end up, because there is this belief that I hope we get to a point where every business should have a business license, and that maintaining that license must maintain proof of activity, and that they must be providing some form of proof in the form of taxes and paperwork. And that is the best solution, because we can sit here all day and dig through gang, grant, business obfuscation. But the reality is that it's going to be very difficult. And why the fuck should we do that to begin with?
What do you mean? Why should we do it? I'm confused.
Well, why should we? It's a unproductive compared to legislatively and through both of these, so to give you an example, it's why should we do all that when the mayors should actually be demanding it?
Well, that's the point. My next thing is, like, it's written in the legislation that every grant needs to follow up with audits by the mayor. How come no one just asked the mayor, okay, can we see the audits?
No, that's what I'm saying. So
Okay.
this is why when I spoke to Danger, he's on board with Penny, and why Dawn and company are already on board. So now it's like that process is now starting. So I am being considerate of the fact that both of them probably didn't really know too much, right?
I don't accept that. The amount of money they pulled just ruined this, like, destroyed the economy of the city. It all needs to be clawed back dollar for dollar.
I think it's important, and I'm glad you feel that way, right? But understand, I gotta be
unfair. It's insane.
I agree. However, this is San Andreas, right? And if I was on the same mood, because I'm on that same mood with certain departments, right? Where the fuck are their detectives? Why are random people getting shot? Why are, you know what I mean? Like, and so it's important sometimes when we need something, right? We find, and there is a avenue with less, what's the word I'm looking for? When we have an avenue available where both of these mayors are like, oh shit, this is an issue, and they're on the path to remedying it, no pun intended, to give us access to the things that we need to make our job that much easier, so we can, remove 90% of the hassle. Because right now we have to sit back and we got to be like, hey, I'm pretty sure this is sus, right? But we have to go put a full-blown Bruce Baylor case together in order to get a resolution. That instead, that if these guys are working with us and we can get a form of auditing in place, including one in which we have access to, well, instead of doing that much work, we could literally just pull it up and be like, bro, where's this money? Why was it spent here? Why was it spent there? Court case, boom, boom. You see what I'm saying?
I don't think he sees it.
Coyote?
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm
Oh,
like
yeah,
listening
yeah.
and reporting
But-
at the same time.
No, you're good. But you see what I'm saying here? Like, technically, yes, we could go impeach them, right? And be like, where the fuck's the money, dog? But then we would have zero evidence because we would have to have checked all the businesses first.
Oh, well, this is all of my point is. This is what the initial thing I said as far as like a plan of attack. The grants need to be followed up with audits to verify if the money is used properly. If not, they're due for a clawback. It also
Agreed.
in that same legislation that was put there by previous administration, it says that the money has to be used specifically for what is outlined is going to be used for, and the deliverables must be shown. So that's there. That expectation is there already. It's in there. So going up to someone, not even suspecting that they're a criminal, they say, "Okay, so we'd like to see the audits, as well as which audits proved like that there was fraud. Can we see which audits proved that there was fraud?" To which the mayor's office would invariably respond, "None of them." Well, then we would say, okay, so this shows that every audit hitherto has proven that there has been no malpractice. And you would sort of entrap him into having to say yes. Or he would have to say, we've done no audits, which is what he would say reasonably. And to me, that's the important part. It could be solved in one conversation, a very casual one. You sit him down, you ask him which audits have shown fraud, and he would say, we've done no audits.
No, we already. So I've spoken about that. He's aware, which is why both counties are doing the same thing.
Has he said, have we got him to admit that he's done no audits?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if he's on record saying he have no audits, then his ability to give out grants should immediately be stopped, no? Because the grant comes with the understanding that audits will take
So
place.
I want you to think about it this way, Coyote, right? That is very much a very ambitious, because the moment that is challenged, you need evidence.
Challenge
Because you will find that you would need to, in order to do what you're saying, you would first need to issue a court order, right? So that would be an injunction. An injunction stopping the mayor's office from issuing grants, right? The moment that injunction happens, a lawyer will be able to challenge the injunction.
How is he going to challenge the mayor saying they've done no audits? They've done no follow-up to anything.
Okay, so he has not said verbatim he hasn't done any audits. Yeah, but and the inferences, right? And even if he did, it's not on recording, right? So with that having been said, we put in an injunction. The injunction would stop, would be a request, right? Because we can't put in an injunction, only the DOJ does. So we'd be petitioning for it. A writ of mandamus, it's called. When the writ of mandamus is posted, it is coming with an argument. In that argument, we would say, hey, Danger is claiming that he has done 0 audits. He needs to stop. And you could put in, the reasons why and whatever. Now he can come in and propose a counter through his attorney. And the judge will say, and that attorney could literally be like, well, actually, we are auditing. We just took a look on Twitter and, it looks like, blah, 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 blah. Like, there's like a photo of like, the Gang Olympics and, yeah, these people are using it right. I've taken a look around. Right? And that's it. Because it's a very unbounded expectation. And
of course, but like we could preemptively prepare for that if as long as like during the interrogation or in the sit down with the talk, like all these concessions can be gotten from them in a simple conversation. Hey, because then you would just ask for the audit records.
there,
Now, if he says,
who
"I won't
says
give
that
it,"
there needs to be audit records?
But don't even say that. Just ask him and see what he says. Hey, Mr. Charles, how you doing? Okay, ¿qué pasa? So, about the businesses, all the grants, have any of the grant, like the part of the responsibility is to do a follow-up. It's written in legislation that that's part of the responsibilities. Which one of these kind of showed that, there was fraudulent behavior and the deliverables were not met or were not, supplied? To which you would say none. So you say they're all have come back like as good.
Yeah.
To which he would say yes. And
Well,
then you can ask him for those records of those audits. To which then they would supply either photographs of Twitter or some other
they don't have
stuff.
to give us those right now.
See, but it would be fair to ask him for it. If he says no, he won't give it, then now he's sort of admitted that they have the records and he won't give it, which
let's
is
bring
fine
it back
too.
for a moment here. So,
What would we lose by doing that is my question.
you would be having the mayor's office shut down from preventing us a actual reasonable avenue by which to actually have access to a more stringent set of auditing. So, so both mayor's offices are very much interested in reviewing and getting proof that these grants are being used properly. Peggy from Los Santos County and pretty much all of Blaine County Mayor's office. Given the fact that they're going down this road and entertaining the idea of SASM being involved with reviewing these records and whatnot, shutting that down versus going at the mayor's office and saying, hey, can you give us this, with the presumption that we're going to, if they don't give it, effectively go for a writ of mandamus and eventually an impeachment, is literally just going to shut it down, right? We would be sitting there with absolutely nothing at that point. Like, what would... So we'd lose it all.
What about Razel? Is he in the clear forever?
No.
Okay.
This is something that's very important, Coyote, right? Is what you're saying in theory we can do. However, the moment let me ask you point blank. Do you think Danger should be impeached?
Not necessarily. I think the grant allotting system should be put on pause.
Okay.
And
Writ of mandamus.
Even with his consent, which I don't think he will not like deny or consent to, because now the public's gonna be like, hey, why is the grant system paused? And now that's really good. That's, in my opinion, that's good momentum.
Okay. So all right, let's say I'm the mayor. Let's role play it out. Let's say I'm the mayor.
But be Charles Danger. Don't be Brian Knight mayor.
No, I'm gonna be. No, I'm gonna be. Listen, I'm gonna be Rizal. I'm gonna be whoever it is. Right? You don't know Danger very well. So.
Okay, go ahead.
What's going on, Coyote? What's up?
Hola, ¿qué pasa? I just stay. So
right.
we're like we're having a conversation now in the police station. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. What's going on, man? How can I help you?
Oh, see, I just wanted to talk to you about this business grants happening. Hey, let me know whenever you go ahead, take your call. I'll be here. Okay.
I'm just looking at Twitter, man.
Hey, well, you have a moment. It's kind of important what we're gonna talk about.
All right, what's going on, dude?
See, so all of the grants that have been given, all of those. Have you have any of the audits for any of those businesses come back to show that there's some fraud or like some suspicious activity?
Yeah, you know, I know there's like this and that, and like if you find anything, like just let me know about it. But we're like taking a look at some things and whatever, and like, you know
what?
We're like willing to work with like SASM and like.
Oh, really? That's good news. Yeah, that's why I'm here.
All right, what's up, man?
See, so you guys have started. So you have been following up with any of the people that have the grants to follow up to see if they deliver what they say they're going to do.
What do you mean, man?
Well, you approve.
No, I got people to do that and whatnot.
Oh, really? How is it going?
Yeah, it's going good, dude. Like, hey, good work on Bruce Baylor, man. It's crazy. He didn't pop up on our audits. It's crazy.
Okay, and you have a record of those audits?
You got something or something, like, man.
Is that yes or no?
You interrogating me?
No, we're having a conversation. I'm asking questions.
Yeah, like
the answers of which I hope you have.
Yeah, I talked tonight about this. What's going on, man?
Well, I'm telling you what's going on. Are you okay? Are you drunk or something?
Coyote's trying to grab my dick, dude.
Okay, got you there, man. Got you.
No, it's okay. He can have his phone call. It's no problem.
Yeah.
After all, he's the mayor.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like maybe we did audits, maybe we didn't. I don't fucking know, dude.
So you don't know if you've audited?
I don't know, dude. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. I don't know.
Okay, but it's part of your responsibility.
Fuck you. All right. Well, whatever, dude. We're taking a look.
Okay, now let's cut scene right there. Isn't that important to have him announce to a marshal that they don't even really give a fuck?
People can say whatever they want, right?
Okay, but like my concern is like this money can be bled out any. I mean, I will follow you. Like I'm not opposing what you say.
Yeah.
I was just suggesting.
He could literally tell you. He could literally tell you we're not doing shit with audits, and what are you gonna do about it?
I think that's really important.
Important versus law enforcement are two different things, right?
Well, I'd ask him to record it first. I didn't get that part in because we were role playing.
Okay.
I think it's very, very, very important on record.
Okay, let's say on recording he said that we don't do audits. Let's use a worst case scenario.
Okay, you don't do audits. So essentially what he's have now admitted to, they're just giving money away.
Okay.
And there is no expectation for people to use the money as they said they're gonna do. So it's not even a grant anymore. It's just, isn't that by definition embezzling? Well, I think that if they say they don't do audits, that gives us enough grounds to do a writ of mandamus and have the DOJ pause the grant system. Not impeach him, but pause the grant system.
Okay.
That's citizen money that they're bleeding, It's like... That's all. I think that's a very reasonable thing to...
And then how are you going to... When they say, okay, prove it.
Okay, well, it's on recording. We had the city mayor saying they don't do audits.
Okay.
Somebody has to do the audits. The grant comes with an expectation of an audit.
So, okay. Even if you got on recording... We're talking like worst case scenario. The moment that writ of mandamus comes up, he could literally just be like, that's not what I meant.
Okay, well, what do you mean? Has any audit been
too
done?
Late, right? Because the thing is, like, as a part of the writ of mandamus, you are saying, okay, this guy's not auditing and the money is being used inappropriately, right? You'd have to add those other pieces. At which point your only evidence being a statement from Danger saying what can be perceived, it could be chopped up as he meant one thing versus meant another thing, wouldn't be enough to like hold. I don't see the writ of mandamus going through with just that. Because it could quite frankly just counter and be saying, okay, do you have any proof of this beyond Bruce Baylor? Right?
Well, it doesn't have to do like forget Bruce Baylor. Here's the thing: he's a public body,
He's
a public
technically-
official. He's an elected official who has the authority to pass money out through the grant system to businesses, depending on the expectation that the grant asks or says and lays out. If then the person who has the authority to give out this money, which he's giving out money, then says that they're doing no audits and no follow-up whatsoever, which reasonable justice would deem that acceptable? Because there is a reasonable expectation of some degree of oversight to this. In which case, what the fuck are we doing here? That's all I'm saying, because it's like, it's the Bruce Baylor thing. Okay, we have Bruce Baylor and stuff, but right now, if they're not auditing, you don't have to impeach him. Just put a pause on the grant system. It's like the least we can do for the public, like immediately. If that's not the approach, I'm totally fine with it. It was just the thing I was suggesting. It's what I would have done, or I suggest we do.
That would have ended very poorly.
I don't think so. I think it would have been fine. Like, which justice is going to say, no, we're going to let people give out money without auditing whatsoever?
All the ones that have allowed it to happen?
Are they aware that there is no audits?
A audit, you're kind of going off the presupposition that a audit must be based on what your perception of an audit should be. And unfortunately, there is no specificity of what that is. And even if you were to do it, you still remember when I said that, we went through the whole, like, what is RS and then what is PC and why you need to hit that bar irrespective of what a subpoena actually is, right? Outside of the city and just how people look at it. And furthermore, why you need to build up all that evidence and be ready to go to court is because the moment you do that writ of mandamus and the only thing you got is, hey, dog, Charles Danger said there ain't no audit, right? And that his idea of what an audit is, based on what his defense can say, isn't enough, right? Is when everything unravels. Because we're going to be asked to produce evidence of wrongdoing. Produce evidence of patterned wrongdoing. Show evidence of this being beyond, hey, there's a lot of money going out. And now, you know what we're left with when it all, they lift that writ of mandamus for what would go for 2-3 days. You now have a mayor that is no longer going to work with you. That would put down the building blocks to get us what we need to properly investigate these matters. You now have one that is going to simply shut the door. And now we're going to be sitting around with our dicks in our hands.
See. Okay, I'm gonna get back to work we'll work on this. Compiling all this evidence.
Yes.
In this grant document.
Okay.
Thank you so much for going so in depth.
The Black Swan thing, I would give them a call. Ask them where they're. Have you spoken to them yet?
No, not yet.
All right. Well, I think that's your first step.
I don't think I've ever seen them in the lemon list.
Never seen them
in
the lemon list.
Is
I had
this?
someone
give
go
me
to
some
survey
background on this.
businesses. They have not heard of anyone operating a pub, etc.
Seamus McCarty and Ivy Grayson, I believe.
Wait, Black Swan is fucking are the Hounds?
Bingo! Bing, 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 bing. Not only the Hounds, Ivy Grayson is... what tag did Ivy Grayson have when we went to the... Remember that court hearing we went UC? There was a really, really loud New York chica in there. Do you remember?
Yeah, and they wanted Remedy Creed.
Exactly. Ivy Grayson was wearing a Habibi cut going over there to support Remedy Creed.
Oh,
You
interesting.
see, this is why
okay.
this one is so interesting. See, exactly. That's the one. I'm in the process right now of putting everything on the MDT as a Marshal report, so the other ones could see, because you said if it's not there, then it doesn't count.
Yes.
See,
and there's something else that you need to be aware of. That anything you're putting in other special places like Obsidian technically falls under Rhodes Rule.
What is Rhodes Rule?
It's that every little slice of information can be accessed by the defense and must be submitted. So
what
be
the
very
fuck? No way, that's crazy. So they can come to my house and just like look at my whiteboard.
Just be careful. Don't play that game. A lot of court cases have gotten fucked in the ass because Rhodes Rule is complete dog shit.
How would they even know there's like
brother, don't like let's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say less. Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise someone's gonna look at your fucking eyes and kick you right in the ball sack.
Okay, that's scary. That's like
yeah. Don't
Soviet
listen. Yeah, like I said, listen, if you're if you do you use Obsidian?
100%.
Okay, now I know.
You know, I got
and
I got
others
it
probably know because you probably told 20 other people.
Oh shit! I had this guy next to me. You know why I got it? Is 1 year ago.
No,
1 year ago, Brian Knight. When you weren't there, someone told me Brian Knight uses Obsidian. That's why I downloaded it.
Yes, I introduced it to the detective. So I'm gonna go down the path, but yeah, we were looking for a tool for better collaboration and note taking because the MDT back in the day was significantly worse. And look, it's a very good tool. I would, if the collaboration version was better, we'd be using it in the Marshals. But the problem is the Rhodes Rule is fucking brain dead. So let me also make sure you understand what I mean by the if you're bringing up that you've got something written somewhere else, right? Even if it's on your tablet, right? And you're referencing it and people know about it, they can literally ask you in court.
Okay, that's
right?
way different. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought they were gonna say,
no, they're not gonna NSA. No.
Okay,
I'm just like sort of. Well, listen. Look, I'm not gonna say it.
Say it. It's too late.
Because it's not like people don't know you're doing it. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, the right question gets asked. Not saying anyone in particular, but that shit is not like you never want to take that risk of like hiding some shit and then like, hey Coyote, do you use Obsidian? Yeah, I do. Do you ever put any police work in it? Yeah, I do. All right, where is it? Roads violation. Boom, boom. You know
oh my god, really?
Yeah.
What if I say I use MS Paint too? It helps me think.
Well, no, but if you're yeah, but you're not maintaining it there, right? The moment like you're kind of like bringing it up to other people, right? You've probably told other people you use Obsidian, right?
Oh, I told everyone to download it. It's the fucking best tool.
Yeah,
ever.
so exactly. So you've already given people an angle to ask that question. That making sense?
See, and it's fucking scary too.
Yeah, I do. I'm not a fan of the Rhodes Rule.
But like somebody shouldn't be referencing some shit they wrote in fucking elsewhere in a court case.
They can. Why wouldn't they?
Well, that's stupid. Like the defense would need to see it. If you're using it as an accusatory piece of evidence, the defense has a right to ask for it.
Oh, you're saying if we didn't provide it?
Well, you're saying like in court, if I say, hey, listen, I have proof against this guy, and
No. It's not about the proof, right? It's that there exists. So the Rhodes Rule, the way that it works today is that if there exists evidence anywhere, right? photographs, you know, like fucking like an obsidian thing. And you have to effectively, if you look at the Bruce thing, there's a reason why it's like got like 200 pieces of evidence in it. Hopefully the road rule gets fixed. Just like I said, be mindful of it, because, you know, especially if your evidence is like mixed around and it's not something you want to put out there. Just, you know,
I'm really glad you brought that up, man. That's crazy.
That's why, that's the main reason I want you working out of the MDT, right? And to give you an idea, these tools that we're putting together right now, you know, with the Kanban board, this, that, and the third, we're not putting a document version because no one's going to road rule your fucking Kanban board, right? No one's going to road rule, like, you know what I mean? But if there's actual reports and references somewhere else, even if they're like notes, technically those notes you got to give. That's where roads came from, because the guy fucking put it into a private report, and now it's like attorneys roads rule like every other case. But all right, well, I'm gonna get out of here. Y'all need me for anything else?
No, I'm good. I appreciate the
yes, put me on the
breakdown.
panel,
Thank
please.
you.
Can you put me on the panel
Yeah,
downstairs?
let me do it right now. What's your state ID? Oh, you're gonna have to text me because I gotta go to sleep. I'm
I text you right now. 11198.
All right, send me an email actually. It'll remind me better.
I see your email
All
right
right.
now.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good night, director.